Hello YouTube. In this video we will be analyzing Perfumer Byblis' kit, as well as just taking a look at all her abilities and going over what I think her build will be. But yeah, for now let's just start with the hero preview. Let's watch her animation. Okay, it looks very nice, very cool. I like it. Since we are mostly here to take a look at the kit, we can kind of skip through a little bit. Okay. Oh, her base stats. Hero introduction. So, she's pretty slow. She has high F. Usually Soul Weavers with F are a little freaky, so I'm assuming she has some type of debuffs on her S3. She has fairly high defense and average health, I guess. Also, she has health release imprint, which is very good. One of the strongest imprints in the game. And let's take a look at her S3. Oh, S2 actually. At the start of an enemy's turn, grants lingering fragrance to all allies for one turn. Lingering fragrance increases max health by 5%. When attacked, reflects 8% of the damage suffered back to the attacker. Reflected damage cannot be higher than the bearer's max health, can stack up to 5 times. So this kind of gives me the vibe that she wants to beat up cleavers, in a sense. She seems like if the enemy takes too many turns early on and they have high damage characters such as Freeman, they will just blow themselves up. Kind of similar to how Green Yulha works with her Reflect, except this is for your whole team. I think this is very powerful. Also, increasing max health is very powerful. I feel like it can be kind of dangerous with how high the health can get on some characters. 5% is a lot, and stacking up to 5 times, that's 25%, which is pretty ridiculous. And that's only one part. When an ally's health is 50% or less after being attacked, activates Lavian Rose, and this dispels 2 debuffs from all allies and recovers health before granting a barrier for 2 turns. This is very powerful, and I think it does somewhat depend on how much she heals and how much the barrier is. Obviously, it scales with her max health, but just dispelling 2 debuffs is already very nice against Cleave. I do think she will probably be weak to Seal, so characters like Luna and Dien are probably going to be annoying for her, and maybe the things that counter her, but I think just your typical damage cleaves will have a very hard time against her. Okay, I think they're gonna show it. Let's take a look. Raz S2. Oh, so that brought him below half. And wow, 10,000 heal. That is pretty good for an AoE heal. Okay, that was pretty awesome. Skill 3. After granting increased effectiveness to the caster for 3 turns, spreads the Scent of Death, inflicting redirected provoke on all enemies for 1 turn, and a 70% chance up to 100 to inflict 2 venom effects for 2 turns. At the end of the turn, detonates venom effects inflicted on the target. So basically 4 venoms that she detonates instantly. That's a lot of damage. And a lot of injury. Redirected provoke as well. And she gives herself effectiveness buff. So it's going to be pretty easy to tag higher FRS characters or characters maybe built with like 100, maybe 200 ER depending on how you want to build her, since she has so much F built into her kit. And yeah, as you can see, these characters all just got fully injured. Just pretty insane. It's kind of ridiculous. And it's not a contact skill, so it also doesn't wake them up or like mess with anything that would interact with hitting them with an AoE, which is cool. Skill 1 attacks the enemy with scented paper and has a 60% chance to inflict decreased defense for 1 turn. And the Soulburn triggers a dual attack from the ally with the highest attack. Very strong. These characters with S1 Death Break with a Soulburn duel for 10 souls, that is always a very scary thing to go up against. Knowing that they can just defense break you into an S1 from, or a dual attack from the highest attack character on their team. Usually going to be some type of high damage DPS or something. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty scary. And this defense break goes up to 75%, so it's actually a pretty good chance at landing. And yeah, as you can see, it kind of showcased what it would look like. Let me take a look at that again. Soulburn, S1 Death Break, and then the Charlotte does 22,000 damage, which is an insane amount. No attack buff or nothing. Now for the artifact. Veritas, at the end of every 3 enemy turns, increases combat readiness of the caster by 10% and has a 50% chance to dispel 1 debuff. And obviously at max it is 20 combat readiness and a 100% chance to dispel 1 debuff. This is basically just a Soul Weaver's version of Warhorn. I do think this artifact is very strong. Not necessarily on Byblis, but I do think it will probably be good on a character in the future. If not Byblis, maybe on some type of anti-cleave build. I also noticed that this artifact gives HP and defense, so it is going to be a lot easier to build your character with more bulk than normal. As you know, Soul Weavers don't really use attack generally, and artifacts usually tend to give attack. So I think it's pretty nice that there's a Soul Weaver artifact that has defense and HP, making it very, very good for characters that just want bulk and nothing else. Usually there's a preview, so maybe we can take a look on how she plays out in a fight. Okay. Oh, it's not here. Oh, here we go. Okay. This procs her S2. Cleanses. Procs Bunny Dom. Now this is going to deal no damage. And let's see how much reflect damage this does. Wow, so he reflected 20,000 back to himself. That is insane. Then we can skip ahead a little bit. DDR is going to sleep them. ZDR is putting Venoms on them himself. And then she's going to put more Venoms. And then, yeah, as you can see, she basically just did half of everyone's health, which is insane for a Soul Weaver that kind of is annoying for cleavers and kind of has a lot of defensive capabilities. To be able to deal that much damage is very insane. I mean, from this point, the fight already looks over. There's not really much to see. Everyone just kind of dies, and then it's kind of a little 4v2, 4v1 situation. So we can kind of skip through this a little bit. Raz goes here, and then he will lose his buff that grants him an extra life. Bunny down procs again, which is nice. And then we get the Soulburn. Yup. Into Charlotte. 22,000 to clean up and end the game. That is insane. Now that I've seen how this character kind of plays out, and also noticing that they have this character built very tanky with very high HP, I do think that her go-to build is going to be just a pure tank build, very high HP, very high defense, maybe a bit of effectiveness, and I think that it'll just be impossible for the enemies to get through her with that kind of build. I can also see her being built faster on the Veritas artifact to cut enemies and then disrupt them with CC, the redirected provoke, and also injure them. I think she has many ways she can be played. I think this character looks very strong. I think she will be very good in RTA, but also other game modes as well. I feel like people will struggle figuring out how to deal with her, at least for a little while. think it'll be very fun to play with her at the very least. I don't know if it'll be fun to play against her, but you know, that's all for my video though. Thanks for watching. Bye.